Alright, hello everyone. I'll be refuting Riley's claim, which was people who are homosexual deserve the same rights and freedoms that any heterosexual person has. Her secondary claims are: 1, the concept of what is considered a traditional marriage has changed, opening up an outlet to gay couples to get married and have it legal. 2, allowing businesses to decline services to people based off of sexual orientation is bullying. And 3, all marriages need to be equal under the law. Are you be refuting this by making the claim that the advocate is making an argument? First by talking about the problems with the secondary claims, then I'll be addressing the original proposition. So the first supporting claim is ambiguous about what is the matter at hand. I'll restate the claim. The concept of what is considered to be a traditional marriage has changed, opening an outlet to gay couples to allow them to get married and have it legal. She talks about defining marriage differently. However, it's unclear whether or not this is a matter of legality or a matter of cultural or societal norms. This is a problem because her statement is not clear and leaves room to be taken in different ways. Right off the bat, her first 3 citations are saying the same thing. They're talking about how marriage is about love. The first quote is, in the 20th century, love is redefined to allow how people to find their opposite, a person who would be there, who would complete them. Second quote, heterosexuals were the ones who said marriage should be about love. And third, heterosexual couples initially redefined marriage by pushing for the union to be built on love. She keeps talking about marriage being about love, but does not connect it to gay marriage. She does address this issue in her quote, saying heterosexual couples change the nature of marriage, thus opening the door for gay people who were searching for the right to wed. However, she does ignore the fact that it was heterosexuals who also closed that door in gay people's faces by making anti-gay legislation. Prop 8, anyone? By painting heterosexuals to be making great strides in the path towards marriage equality, she's ignoring the fact that they really were standing in the way at the same time. The second claim, the advocate says that allowing businesses to decline services to people based off sexual orientation is bullying. She doesn't define bullying, which I'll do that right now. According to the National Bullying Prevention Center, bullying is behavior which hurts, humiliates, and injures people emotionally or physically. It targets people who can't defend themselves, contains real or perceived power imbalance, and is repetitive. Now, knowing this definition, we can connect the parallels between anti-gay legislation and bullying in the LGBT community. However, the advocate does not do this. Instead, she gives examples of either business declining services to people or the responses of others, for those businesses' actions. For example, PayPal, going out of a business censure, stuff like that. This isn't explaining these instances or connecting them to the argument. She's basically just leaving them out instead of dry. Further, the testimonies given, they're not expert testimonies. Bruce Springsteen and Ringo Starr, while they're admirable in talent, they're not authorities on this topic. Going on to the third claim, all marriages need to be equal under the law. This is a claim of policy, straight and simple. She goes on to state that same-sex couples should have the same rights and to the federal benefits that heterosexual couples have. This is, again, a claim of policy. By moving away from proving a fact and pushing an agenda, it's not following the model of argumentation. You can't prove a claim of fact with a claim of proposition. Further, the advocate isn't up to date on what's going on in the community. She argues that gay marriage should be equal under the law. However, as of June 26, 2015, gay marriage is legal in all 50 states. In June of last year, the Supreme Court decided that same-sex marriage was a fundamental right, and I quote, "The Constitution grants them that right." The decision made same-sex legal in the 13 states that were banning it, so that equals to all 50 states. Moving on to the main proposition. I'll repeat it. People who are homosexual deserve the same rights and freedoms of any heterosexual person. That's a non-argument. First, saying the word deserve makes it a claim of value. Second, because there is ambiguity whether the advocate is talking about legal rights or societal rights, we're forced to focus on the legality of it because that's where most of the controversy lies. This is problematic because there isn't a controversy on the side of the gay rights argument anymore. She also talks about businesses bullying the LGBT community, but she just leaves it at that. She doesn't offer much proof or reasoning behind it, or that claim. Finally, she makes a claim of policy that is already in place. Gay people do have the right to marry, and they have for the past 11 months. So to conclude, my opponent is arguing a claim of fact that is a non-argument. First, it's a claim of value. Second, it doesn't have proper evidence or reasoning behind it. And third, there isn't a controversy in the first place, which means there isn't an argument to be made. Thank you.
All right, structurally, everything is clearly set up at the beginning. I like the premise that you have, that it's a non-argument. I think you need to explain it a little bit more about why it's a non-argument. Some of that becomes clearer during the secondary points, but I do think that you need to explain that either there's no controversy on some of the issue, the policy issue is moot at this particular point because it's been decided, or there's an absence of any inference that's being presented. So those seem to be some of the things that you say later on. I think it might be a good idea to clarify that at the beginning. The first point is basically you just kind of identify what the advocate's issue is and kind of explain that they repeat themselves 3 times. Your reasoning on this particular point, I'm not exactly sure that their inference is that their great strides have been made, and that's a good thing. It just seems to be a description of the fact that people's attitudes have changed. I don't know that you get very much by pointing out that heterosexuals might also have been responsible for holding people back in the past. I'm not even sure what this argument does to advance one point of view or the other point of view. It's just background information about how people might feel about marriage. So what it has to do with deserving anything, I'm not quite sure. By the way, I like the argument that you get to at the end, and this is I think a point that should be developed here. The question of deserve is in fact a value argument, suggesting that something is inappropriate or that it violates somebody's rights, which is exactly what we talked about as a definition of a value. So there's a wide range of other options available when you have a value argument here. On the bullying issue, you suggest that they don't really offer a definition, and then you offer a definition, which is fine. But then there's no explanation, like you say, there's no explanation from them as to what the bullying consists of. All they've got is this PayPal experience there, and we've got a couple of rock stars who feel that something is going on here that they object to. I'm not exactly sure how that fits into the category of bullying. And by the way, the issue that they're all talking about, I think that you've missed this also, is not about same-sex couples, it's not about homosexuals, it's about transgenders, which is a slightly different issue. So I think there might be an argument that suggests that the generalization doesn't fit the particular subject that's being discussed here, and that might be a good way to respond to that point also. I thought that you had a reasonable press on the argument concerning that, we've got a policy argument that's also being used to try and support a claim of fact, and there's a problem there. I think the argument that it says essentially this issue is moot when it comes to the question of gay marriage, I think that's pretty straightforward. You're absolutely right. There's no dispute on this particular point anymore. We have a court decision that ruled that. We don't have that kind of discrimination, at least not on a legal level. Now, there's a question about, like you said, it's ambiguous as to whether or not they're talking about legal issue or social rights. And since there's not any demonstration of what the social rights are, and you're the only one who presents an argument on the legal issue, I think that you've got the stronger position on that point. All right, thank you all for sticking around for the extra period of time. We'll pick it up. Remember that we start late on